All right, so does Ian Gary's stock go up after losing to Shavkat Rakhmonov? In my opinion, yes, it does. It does. So there's a couple of things that we need to go over that some people probably aren't gonna like, but I'm gonna go ahead and mention them anyways because I feel like I would be a fake bastard if I freaking didn't. So one of the main things that we have to go over is the fact that decision making is a huge part of being a very successful MMA fighter. And I can appreciate the fact that Ian Gary didn't go in all balls to the wall, trying to beat someone like Shavkat Rakhmonov, because I felt like he even knew that there's no way in hell that he could do some of the things that Shavkat Rakhmonov is just so good at doing. And one of those things is working off momentum. I feel like Shavkat Rakhmonov, throughout his entire career, why he's able to get so many finishes in his MMA career so far, is because he just works so well off of momentum. And that's something that Ian Gary didn't give him. He didn't give him the momentum for him to just work one position to go into the next to work off trying to finish off the fight. So kudos to Ian Gary, he didn't go in there and fight like a retard. He didn't go in there and fight like a dumbass. So that's something that we could definitely appreciate. And that's something that I think is pretty good and gives him a good good odds into potentially even winning a rematch against someone like Shavkat Rakhmonov. Despite of everything that's being said about Ian Gary, outside of the octagon, I mean, it is what it is. He did make mistakes, early on in his career on things that have nothing to do with the sport. And I feel like, that's just him taking chances on trying to be liked, in my honest opinion. I feel like whenever you guys, get on Ian Gary's ass for like him doing all the Jeff Neal stuff. I mean, look, let's just go ahead and be honest about this. I feel like he was trying to take a chance at trying to, like, I don't know, sell the fight or something by talking shit, and it backfired on him freaking completely. Making those t-shirts backfired on him freaking completely. You know what I'm saying? And I think that those are just mistakes that you make whenever you're like not that well experienced in the game, and you're trying to do more than you can handle and try to doing too much, for an event. And that's just what it is. I mean, he's a young dude. He's gonna make mistakes. He made mistakes already. But aside from that, I just feel like he is a smart enough guy and a smart enough fighter to potentially be, somewhere around the conversation of being a champion again in the welterweight division. I feel like he has the capabilities. I feel like he's smart enough, to get through certain fighters. I feel like Shavkat Rakhmonov didn't fight the best fight as well. I feel like Shavkat Rakhmonov could have definitely, approached this fight in a little bit of a smarter way. I feel like Shavkat Rakhmonov definitely did, stalled a little bit. 100%. I feel like he did stall a little bit. I felt like there was opportunities where Shavkat Rakhmonov could have definitely, taken more chances. Because he did need to take more chances to beat someone who's fighting positionally like Ian Gary, and he just didn't do it. He didn't do so, and Shavkat Rakhmonov, quote unquote, did look like a human being that night, opposed from all the stuff that we're used to seeing from Shavkat Rakhmonov, and I feel like a lot of that had to do with the fact that, Ian Gary was fighting a disciplined enough fight. I'm not going to say that, he was super disciplined throughout the entire fight, because he did get caught with he got caught with some punches that I'm just like, bro, like, put your freaking hands up, like, what are you doing, but at the same time, Ian Gary did fight a disciplined enough fight, to make Shavkat Rakhmonov kind of stall a little bit. He was like, bro, what do we do, what do I do? This guy's like not trying to, like, meet him in the middle in a sort of way. He's just trying to go into the 50-50. He's trying to make Shavkat Rakhmonov go in there and just fight his fight, and then Ian Gary's just trying to stay defensively responsible, and I feel like Ian Gary, whenever he just went, for the choke in round 5, I kind of felt like, I don't think he has it. I didn't feel like he was gonna get it. I didn't feel like he was gonna pull it off, but I felt like, okay, those are smart enough positions that he's putting himself in. Maybe he's not as bad of a fighter as we all think that he is. I don't think that he got exposed by any means. I think that he's up there with some of the best fighters in the welterweight division. Even if you guys hate to admit it, it's the truth. It's 100% the truth. And for anybody out here who's making MMA videos or YouTube videos and wants to oppose that or say that that's not true, they're just lying to you guys, because it is the truth. As much as Ian Garry is freaking hated by the fans, he's not a dumb guy. He's not a dumb fighter by any means. You know, making someone like Shavkat Rakhmonov, who is just a freaking monster and a boogeyman, look regular is pretty tough to do, you know. And Ian Garry walked into that fight being the smaller guy. Shavkat Rakhmonov was noticeably the bigger guy in terms of like muscle mass and like girth, no homo. But it's the truth. It's 100% the truth. But anyways, I honestly really do feel like Ian Garry's stock does go up after this fight. It definitely does go up after this fight. Some of the matchups that I think I would like to see him test himself on is obviously Leon Edwards and obviously someone like Kamaru Usman, who are former champions in the division. I feel like Ian Garry right now probably has a lot of confidence in himself because he did have a decent match against Shavkat Rakhmonov, you know. And I feel like Ian Garry's next matchups are definitely going to be against the former champions, like the ones that I just named. I feel like the Kamaru Usman is going to be a very interesting matchup because, as we all know, Kamaru does have a wrestling base, you know, and we saw a lot of good things from Ian Garry whenever he fought Shavkat. He was able to, you know, defend himself pretty well against Shavkat's takedowns, which was, in my honest opinion, pretty impressive because I felt like Shavkat had this guy beat before the fight. I thought that Shavkat was just going to go ahead and take him out there, and it was pretty surprising to see that Ian Garry was able to defend himself pretty freaking well against a wrestler like Shavkat Rakhmonov, who is obviously the bigger guy. Now, if he faces somebody off like Kamaru Usman, I feel like that would be a very interesting fight as well, you know, given that we know what happened in the Shavkat matchup. Now, if he faces off someone like Leon Edwards, I feel like this is a more of a fight that he's comfortable fighting in. Of course, Ian Garry, because Ian Garry does have a little bit more of a striking base, in my honest opinion, and I feel like that's where we're probably gonna see where Ian Garry is actually at in terms of striking. You know, we know that he could defend himself okay, you know. We don't know if he could defend himself well against someone like Kamaru Usman, who has a lot of experience. But in terms of the striking game, you know, if he ends up beating someone like Leon Edwards, I feel like that would be a pretty good idea on where, you know, Ian Garry stands, you know, on an overall sense with the entire freaking welterweight division. But like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I really do honestly feel like Ian Garry's stock went up after this fight, and he's in the conversation of being a top 5 fighters in the welterweight division, like it or not. But yeah, it's the truth, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say that. But let me know what you guys think about Ian Garry's stock and how he performed on Saturday. As always, it's a pleasure. Peace out and have a good one.